I would argue that we have not seen a situation as dangerous as the one we're facing now across the region since at least 1973.
This is my video update on this Tuesday, January the 30th. Let's talk about some news. And let's start things off with Blinken and Stoltenberg. Blinken meets Stoli, and they talk about NATO, Ukraine, and what is happening in the Middle East. Blinken saying that it has not been this dangerous in the Middle East since 1973. Quite an observation from Blinken. And Blinken did not look too well. Neither did Stoltenberg. They both looked like they have aged like 10, 20 years. Very stressed out. That's the way they looked. Very, very stressed out. But those were the comments from Blinken. He said that Ukraine is going to enter NATO. So we got to get money to Project Ukraine because it is going to enter NATO no matter what. And what else did Blinken say? I think that's pretty much it. I mean, he said a lot of stuff, but the usual stuff. He said the usual stuff. But Stoltenberg said that weapons equals peace. We have to get weapons to the Elensky regime because weapons equals peace, according to Stoltenberg. He said that line a whole lot as well. More weapons equals more peace. So Z versus Z. Elensky versus Zaluzhny. We had a whole bunch of reports and rumors flying around Kiev yesterday. The news broke that Elensky had fired Zaluzhny, and then the reports were that Elensky did not fire Zaluzhny, and then the reports were that Elensky had called up Zaluzhny and asked him to resign, and Zaluzhny said, "No, I am not resigning, Elensky." And that's where we are. That's what happened yesterday. So, and these were serious reports, by the way. I mean, these were like serious journalists, and I even believe ministers and parliament members came out with statements or were talking about the rumors that Elensky had sacked Zaluzhny, but Zaluzhny is still there. And the latest reports were that Elensky called him up and he asked Zaluzhny to resign, and Zaluzhny denied him. So what is going on? What is going on here? Well, palace intrigue, the soap opera that is Kiev. Like the sands of an hourglass, so are the days of Kiev. Elensky wants Zaluzhny out, right? And I'm sure there are some forces in the collective West that want Zaluzhny gone, but there are also forces in the collective West that want Zaluzhny to stay. And my guess is that the military is still not on board with the sacking of Zaluzhny and having Budanov in charge. Budanov in charge of our days and our nights. What sitcom is that? Let me know in the comments down below. But yeah, I think they're balloon testing the sacking of Zaluzhny, and Zaluzhny still has the support of the military. And why would the military, all the generals and all the staff under Zaluzhny, why would they want to be ordered around by Budanov? I imagine they don't have much respect for Budanov, and they probably have a lot of loyalty and respect for Zaluzhny. That would be my guess. So they're balloon testing, trying to maneuver Zaluzhny out, and they just couldn't do it this time around. Remember, you have to get Zaluzhny out so you can implement the Budanov insurgency plan, the shift from a conventional war to an insurgency war with Budanov in charge. So that's what's going on here. They're trying to figure it out. How do you get rid of Zaluzhny? And I imagine there are a lot of people in the collective West that still want to see Zaluzhny as the commander of the armed forces. But Elensky definitely wants Zaluzhny gone. It's only a matter of time. I imagine eventually they'll figure out a way to get Zaluzhny gone, to get him out. They'll figure it out sooner or later. And they'll put Budanov in charge. Budanov in charge of our days and our nights. So Elensky gave an interview. Elensky was a busy bee the past couple of days. He gave an interview to the German media publication ARD. And Elensky said that, let me just read you his quote actually. He said, we have 880,000, referring to soldiers. We have 880,000. We have 1 million army, and at the same time, we have 30 million people in the country. So he basically let this German publication know that Ukraine has a huge army, a million man army, 1 million person army, and 30 million people that are still in the country. I guess referring that he can tap into 30 million people if need be. So, you know, when he makes a statement like this, when Elensky makes a statement like this, you immediately have to ask, well, if you have 1 million strong army, then why do you need to mobilize 500,000 people? Doesn't make any sense, does it? What's all this mobilization commotion? You have 1 million people. I mean, a million army and 30 million to tap into, according to Elensky. So I don't understand the panic over the past 4 weeks with this 500,000 person mobilization. That's not going at all well. So that's the first thing that I thought of when he said, when he claimed how large the Ukrainian army is at the moment. The other thing I immediately thought was, well, if you have that strong of an army, then things are really not that bad for Ukraine, and you don't really need all that money, do you? I don't know. It seems like things are going all right. I don't know. That's what I would assume when he says that. I mean, Elensky was like, "Look, we're all good. We got a million person army. We're all good." So if that's the case, then why all the panic for the 61 billion and the 50 billion and the 300 billion in Russian frozen assets? Doesn't seem like you really need that money. And what about all of the vans in the streets picking up people and throwing them in the vans and sending them to the front lines, and all the articles from the collective West? An article from Newsweek. No, was it Newsweek? No, Daily Beast. Just last week, I talked about this in a video, which talked about how the vans are roaming the streets of Kiev and Odessa, and they're grabbing anyone they can and throwing them into the van and then onto the front lines. What's going on with all of that if you have 1 million trained up soldiers ready to go? So anyway, some questions that I have after this interview with ARD from Elensky. And Foreign Affairs, they put out a really good article, actually, yesterday with the title, How Russia Stopped Ukraine's Momentum. A Deep Defense is Hard to Beat. And this is a good article. Check it out, give it a read. And it basically talks about how being on the defense usually wins out. Not all the time, but throughout history, it usually wins out, and how Russia defeated Ukraine with a very good defense. And it's time for the collective West to acknowledge that. Russia won. And they won with a good strategy, good defenses. And that's what this article is pretty much saying. It does reveal that all of the Leopard tanks have been demolished. It does say that. Of the fewer than 100 Leopard 2S in Ukrainian service, at least 26 have been knocked out. Others cannot be used due to repair and maintenance, according to Foreign Affairs. It also said that Ukraine lacks the extensive support infrastructure needed to maintain its fleet. The magazine also pointed to rushed training for Ukrainian tank crews by Western advisors, saying they had failed to employ tight combined arms coordination to preserve armored vehicles under fire on the battlefield. The tank brigades were provided just 5 weeks of instruction and were largely made up of inexperienced formations with little to no combat experience. So that's just a small excerpt from this article from Foreign Affairs. The Leopards got completely demolished by the Russians, and this article admits as much. But, as this article is trying to explore the reasons for the failed counteroffensive, which is what it does, it tries to explain why it failed and why throughout history going on the offense against a well-organized defense usually does fail. I just have to tell Foreign Affairs that there's no need to second guess. There's no need to worry, because according to Elensky, they've got a 1 million strong army. So it doesn't seem like there should be any type of panic going on in the collective West at the moment, or in Ukraine, if you go by Elensky's words. The Washington Post, they put out an article with the title, "Ukraine's hopes for victory over Russia are slipping away." They're slipping away? Really? Is that what you think, Washington Post? Or have they slipped away? And Borrell, Jungle Joseph, he said the other day in a statement that the sanctions are not working and there is no light at the end of the tunnel with regards to trying to cripple the Russian economy. He said in a statement that what the EU needs to do is they need to get the Eurasian countries on board with EU sanctions. And he said it's hard. He said it's really hard, but it's just not working. He says the EU, the collective West, has not been successful in crippling Putin's war machine. He demanded in his statement the full cooperation from our partners on sanctions against Russia. And what I have to tell Jungle Joseph is don't worry, bro. No need to panic. Elensky told the German media company ARD that all is good. 1 million strong army, so no need to worry, Jungle Joseph. And the German publication Bild, they are reporting that every second German citizen is afraid of a Putin attack. 50%. 50%, huh? Every second German citizen. I'm trying to do some Annalena Baerbock math. 360% of Germans are afraid that Russia is going to attack Germany. Wow. Wow, I wonder who they sampled for these numbers. I wonder who they asked, who they polled to come up with these stats. Is this really the case? Is there that much worry in Germany that Russia is going to attack Germany? Really? I find that very, very hard to believe. If that is true, then all I have to say is, wow, German media propaganda really works if this is the case. I mean, really works. But my gut tells me that this is nonsense from Bild. This is actually trying to tell the Germans what to think and what to feel, rather than polling the Germans as to what they are thinking and what they are feeling. That's what I think is going on with this Bild publication. But I will tell the Germans what what I just told Jungle Joseph. Don't worry. No need to worry. Elensky told ARD, your very own German publication, that he has a 1 million strong army and all is good. That's what Elensky said. So anyway, the issue the issue is that things in Russia are not going so well, according to collective West media. And so the collective West has a lot to be optimistic about. Ukraine has a lot to be optimistic about, because as the collective West media is reporting, things in Russia are going terribly wrong. And according to the Associated Press, Ukraine's strikes on targets inside Russia hurt Putin's efforts to show the war isn't hitting home. And so in this article, the AP talks about the effectiveness of the Ukraine attacks in Crimea and specifically in Belgorod, and how these attacks have shown the Russian people that that Ukraine is strong and is capable of hitting Russia. And Russians, according to the Associated Press, are very afraid of Ukraine and the Ukraine military. This is what the Associated Press is reporting. And this is expressed, according to the Associated Press, this is expressed by the support of the, what's his name? The opposition candidate to Putin. Nadej something. I forgot this guy's name, but it's Nadej. But I forgot his name. Anyway, according to the Associated Press, he has garnered thousands of signatures. Thousands of signatures, not tens of thousands, not hundreds of thousands, thousands of signatures. He's garnered from various Russians throughout the country so that he can take on Putin, because he is running on a platform of no war, ending the war, and aligning Russia back with the West. That is what he is running on. Let me see if I can find his name, because I'm always curious. I'm a curious one. Let's see. Here we go. Thousands across Russia have signed petitions supporting the long-shot presidential bid of liberal politician Boris Nadezhdin, who has made ending the war his main campaign issue. Wives of some soldiers rounded up in a partial mobilization in 2022 have pushed for their discharge, and despite a tight ban on protests, hundreds rallied in Bashkortostan province, clashing with police to protest the jailing of a local activist. Hundreds of people rallied. Hundreds. And Nadezhdin has gotten support from thousands across Russia who have signed petitions for his candidacy as president. They're actually talking a lot about this guy. Keep this name, keep it handy, because the collective West, they're starting to pump this guy up. I think the BBC, they ran an article on Nadezhdin the other day as well. So Navalny is like Navalny, I don't know, maybe 3.0 or 4.0. I'm starting to lose track of all of the opposition candidates that are going to remove Putin. But anyway, that's what the Associated Press is saying. The insurgency plan, they're basically pumping up the insurgency plan. That's what I think is going on with this article. They're talking about the benefits of moving to a war, of moving the war to a strategy where they are hitting inside of Russia and how that works. So it's working, and that's what we should be doing. That's what the Associated Press is basically reporting. It's working. Let's get more missiles. Let's get scalps. And France is delivering a whole bunch of scalps as we speak. Or actually, I think a whole bunch of scalp missiles have already arrived in Ukraine. I saw some pictures of and video of the scalp missiles. So let's get the long-range missiles to the Elensky regime, and let's get this insurgency war and hitting Russia with missiles. Let's get all of this started because it's working. And look, the Russian election is in March, so they've got a couple of months to hit at Russia. That's basically what this article is advocating. And things are going really bad in the Russian economy, according to CNN, because they are saying that as Russia boasts it is beating sanctions, its long-term prospects are bleak, according to CNN. And in this article, they cite officials from Finland and and the collective West, and I forgot the other country, maybe the UK, Finland, and like the UK, the US, they cite all of these officials who have done their research and have crunched the numbers, and they come to the same conclusion that yes, the Russian economy is doing well now. Yes, Russia beat out the sanctions now, but in the long term, in like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 years, hey, there's my friend. What's up? Remember this cat? So, yeah, in like 50 or 100 years, um, Russia's economy is gonna crumble in the long term. Maybe not 100, maybe 20 years, maybe 30 years. And you always got to remember that the analysts in the think tanks in the collective West, they're always pretty right. They're pretty spot on. So this cafe puts food right under here, food and water right under here for the cat. That's cool. That's very cool. Good on you, Cafe Nero, taking care of the famous park, Cyprus Park cat. So yeah, they're saying that in the long term, things are not looking good for the Russian economy. But in the short and medium term, things are going very well. But don't be fooled by the short and medium term. The sanctions are working. The sanctions are working. You just got to give it time. Just give it time, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Just give it some time and it will work. That's according to CNN. Uh, oh boy. So let's shift gears and talk about the possible war in the Middle East, the possible war with Iran, the United States, and the coalition of the willing going to war with Iran, possibly. This follows the death of 3 American soldiers after a drone, what they claim was a drone, hit Tower 22 in Jordan, though Jordan denies this, and many people believe that this drone or whatever this was hit the base in Syria in Al Tanf, but who knows? The official narrative is Jordan. That's the official narrative. And according to Politico, Biden and his team, they absolutely blame Iran for this. Iran's responsible, and they're preparing a very hard strike against Iran. From what I understand, Biden has already given the green light to prepare the retaliation against Iran. I guess the argument is that yes, this was some kind of militias or militant groups or whatever in the region. I think in Iraq is where these groups are located, but the argument is that Iran is arming these groups, so they're the ones to blame. They're the ones that are to blame. I guess you could kind of draw parallels to how NATO is arming Ukraine. I mean, can you make that parallel? But anyway, maybe we shouldn't make that parallel. But Politico is saying that Biden is going to hit hard at Iranian personnel in Iraq and Syria, whatever that means, and they are planning to hit Iranian naval installations. That's going to be the response according to Politico. So we wait and we see what exactly is going to happen. This is going to be an escalation, and Iran's not just going to sit back and take this unless there's been some back channel diplomacy and they've come to some sort of an agreement or understanding, and whatever Biden is going to hit, whatever naval installations he's going to hit, there's going to be no people there or something like that. If that's the case, then okay. A Trump Trump did the same thing, kind of did the same thing with the whole Soleimani affair, and the president like Trump could pull something like this off. Let's hit something, and we'll just call it done. But the Biden White House with all the neocons, I don't think that's what's going on. I doubt that there's much back channel diplomacy with Iran, but maybe there is. Who knows? Who knows? We're just going to have to wait and see. But Nuland, she said that the U.S. is not leaving Syria. There were some reports that the U.S. military was going to be leaving Syria, and a lot of people were very alarmed at those reports, because if the U.S. is going to be leaving Syria, while it's a good thing that they're leaving Syria, it also could be an indication that the U.S. is removing soldiers from the region, because there's going to be a very big war, and they don't want that military to be exposed to Iranian fire, Iranian missiles and drones and rockets. So while it's good for the U.S. to pull out of Syria, on the one hand, on the other hand, a lot of people get worried when something like that goes down, because it could signal that the U.S. is preparing for a very big war against Iran, and it's taken its measures to prevent Iran from hitting any targets in the region. So Nuland said, no, we are not leaving Syria. So that could be an indication that the strike that Biden's about to get underway, to put forward, is going to try and avoid a wider conflict, because those troops are going to stay put in Syria. So that's what it could mean. I could be wrong, though, but that's a statement from Nuland. On the flip side, there are claims from I believe the New York Times is the first publication that broke this story. There are claims that we are very close to a 45-day ceasefire in the war in Israel. The deal is that a lot of hostages would be released, and this would be a 45-day ceasefire. Now, this is good news, because you're going to get a 45-day ceasefire, but once again, I imagine there are going to be many analysts who could view this as a 45-day pause in the chaos in Gaza and in Israel, in order to prepare for a wider war with Iran. So it depends how you look at this news, but first we have to wait to see if this news is actually true. Right now, it's just, I guess you could say it's a rumor, but that's the reporting, and I believe the New York Times is the publication that first broke this. But I talked about this a week ago. This was being talked about a week ago. The deal was proposed to Hamas from Egyptian and Qatari officials, but Hamas turned it down. But maybe they found a way, a formula to get this deal back on. Anyway, Nikki Haley, she did the rounds on media, on Collective West TV channels, and neocon Nikki, she was going crazy, man. I mean, crazy for war with Iran. She was like, we gotta hit Iran, we gotta bomb Iran, we gotta show that we're strong, and we can't show weakness now. I mean, it was something else to watch Nikki Haley just go absolutely crazy to bomb Iran. She said that the way to get peace is to bomb Iran. Something like that. She said this is not about escalating the conflict. She was like, this is not about escalation. Bombing Iran is going to actually lead to de-escalation. Or she said something like that. But wow, Nikki Haley, she really is a neocon. I mean, she's a neocon. Give her neocon patch and pin and hat. She's neocon through and through. But let's do a clown world, and we'll wrap this video up. Actually, here's a story just in as I'm recording this video, but I think this broke yesterday, but I'm getting it right now. Pakistan's ex-Prime Minister Imran Khan and ex-FM Shah Mahmood Quresh have been sentenced to 10 years in prison in the cipher case. So I guess you could say the coup against Imran Khan is now complete. He's going to be going to prison for 10 years. Wow. Unbelievable. Anyway, that's news that just popped up on my Twitter thread. Let's do some clown worlds now. How about Joy Reid and her hot mic moment? Now, I thought at first this was AI. I didn't want to believe this, but it looks like this is real. This is not AI. This is not some fake stunt or anything like that. But Joy Reid, who suffers from a very bad case of TDS, they played during her show. They played a recording, a speech from Biden, where he was talking about the wars, all the wars. I'm starting to lose track of all the wars, to be quite honest. But anyway, he was talking about all the wars that are going on or that are going to start or whatever. And as Biden was speaking, they forgot to cut Joy Reid's microphone, and she said, "Starting another effing war." That's what she kind of blurted out as they were showing Biden speaking about one of the multiple wars that he has going on.
Congress is serious about solving the border issue.
If that bill were the law today, I'd shut down the border right now and fix it quickly. And Congress needs to get it done.
Starting another fucking war.
So that's what she said. Starting another effing war. So even Joy Reid, with all her TDS and all of that stuff, even she understands what's going on with this Biden administration, how bad it is with this Biden administration. Not that she's going to say anything, not that she's going to speak out against all these wars, but deep down inside, if this really is a real hot mic moment, I'm still not certain, I'm still not 100%, but if this is real, then even Joy Reid, she understands that this is a disaster, but she's not going to say anything. She is not going to speak out at all against all of these wars. So one more clown world. Nancy Pelosi, she said the other day, I believe with CNN, was it a CNN interview? I talked about it in my video yesterday. She said that the pro-Palestinian protesters are Putin puppets. Not all of them. Not all of them. She said some of them are sincere. But she said there are some of them which are on the Putin payroll, and she wants the FBI to investigate them. So she did say that. She did say that. But now video has surfaced of Pelosi outside of her home. I believe that's her home in San Francisco. And she's getting into her big SUV with her security detail around her. You can see a Porsche in her garage right behind her as well. It's good to be in Congress. Pays well. But yes, the protesters were approaching Pelosi as she's getting into her SUV, and I don't want to say they're heckling her, but they're telling her stop the war, ceasefire, stuff like that. And Pelosi's very annoyed at this. She actually told CNN that the protesters are in front of her house. So during her CNN interview, where she said that they're pro-Putin, the pro-Palestinian protesters are Putin puppets, she did mention that she understands how the protesters feel because they're outside of her house. Well, the video surfaced of the protesters outside of her house, and they were protesting the war in Israel and in Gaza. And Pelosi was very annoyed. And she got into her SUV, and she told the protesters, go back to China. That's what she said. Go back to China. I don't quite understand what's going on, to be quite honest. I don't get it. Go back to China is what she said. So let's see here. Let's try to break this down. The protesters are on Putin's payroll. Not all of them. Some of them are on Putin's payroll. But Pelosi is telling them to go back to China. Something doesn't add up here. Let me think here. The protesters are on Putin's payroll. but Pelosi is telling them to go back to China. Got it. Got it. Got it. Nancy is one smart cookie. Nancy Pelosi is one smart cookie. Yeah, so it's real simple, actually. It's real simple. China is giving Russia protesters. Russia probably ran out of protesters, right? They probably ran out. And now China is supplying Russia with protesters. There you have it. That's it. That is it. Just like washing machines and missiles and drones and all of these things, China, North Korea, Iran, providing Russia with all of these things that they've run out of. Well, it looks like Putin has run out of protesters, and China is now providing Russia with pro-Palestinian protesters. That's what's going on. All right, we figured that one out. Fantastic. That's the video, everybody. theduran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute, Telegram, Rockfin, and Twitter X. And go to the Duran shop. 15% off all t-shirts. Take care.